Hey guys, it's Julia, designer at the Quilted Cow, and today's tutorial is on the Helpful Heifer Back Home Pillow Series Grace Chapo Pillow Accessory. Before we begin, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines and Creative Good Rulers, Mats, and Rotary Cutters. Let's get started.
Quiet on set, we are rolling.
The Back Home Pillow Series is one of my all-time favorite things we've ever designed. These pillow accessories are interchangeable, so you can take them off. To launder them, you can take them off and change them per season or per however your mood strikes. There are so many different kits available, and you can find the pattern for the pillow and the accessory on our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Let's get started with the first step. The first thing we're going to do is to make the flying geese. For that, you're going to need your fabric D square and your fabric B squares. Now, in previous step, you had drawn a line diagonal from the corner. Go ahead and make sure that's done. You're going to turn your fabric D square at a diamond shape and then place your squares in the top corner with the sides even, and you're going to place the next one in this bottom corner. Your fabrics are going to overlap right here in the center, and that is perfectly fine. What we're going to do next is go ahead and step to our machine, and we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of this drawn line. So let's go sew. Once you have your seam stitched on both sides of your drawn line, we're going to go ahead and cut our square in half. I'm going to cut right on the drawn line, creating 2 triangles. The next thing you want to do is to press your points away from your triangle. Now that I have my points pressed away, it's time to attach our final squares. So to do that, I'm going to place my square in this open corner, and my line that's drawn should lead up between my points. I'm going to do the same thing on the next part. And we're going to rinse and repeat. Go ahead and stitch a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of this drawn line. Now that I have stitched on both sides of my drawn line, I'm once again going to go ahead and cut on the drawn line. The next step is to go ahead and press, so you'll end up with your flying geese look. Go ahead and press all 4 of your pieces. Now that I have all of my flying geese pressed, it's time to trim. The first part, you want to make sure that you have it centered on your ruler, right at the point of your triangle. And then you want to make sure you have a 1/4 inch seam right above it onto your actual geese. That's the first cut you want to make. Go ahead and trim the remainder of the sides until you get the size specified in our pattern. Now that I have my flying geese trimmed, I'm going to go ahead and complete the block that they're in. So I'm going to start with my center square and go ahead and attach my flying geese to my top and bottom. Let's go do that now. Now that I have the top and bottom stitched, I went ahead and pressed them away from my center. I'm going to go ahead and do the sides now. So I'm going to start with my square and stitch it to the top of my flying geese. Now that I have the top stitched on both of my sides, I'm going to go ahead and stitch the bottoms on as well, and then attach it to my center. Now that I have my star pieced together, I'm going to go ahead and attach my sides as well. So let's go ahead and attach both the right and the left side. Now that I have my sides attached to my star, I'm going to go ahead and finish this piece by attaching both the top and bottom strips. Now here is the finished piece for the front of my church. The next step we're going to do is go ahead and work on the windows for the side of the church. Let's gather those pieces now. The first thing you want to do to complete your church windows is to go ahead and add your P squares that you had drawn a line on at the top of the pattern. Go ahead and attach those onto your windows. Repeat that for both of your window pieces now. Once you have your window pieces all finished, go ahead and let's attach the outsides to both sides of our windows. So let's go sew those now. Now that I have the sides sewn on my church windows, I'm going to go ahead and attach them to the center piece, and then I will stitch the top and bottom to finish this block out. Let's go sew those together now. Now that I have my windows completely assembled, I'm going to go ahead and stitch those to my star that we had already pieced. So let's go stitch these two pieces together. Now that I have this part of my church finished, I'm going to go ahead and set these pieces aside and start working on the top. Okay, to assemble the rest of my church, I'm going to start with my steeple. Now this is one of those pieces that you drew the line diagonal and then added it to the fabric. So the corners are your letter F and the center is your letter L. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch the sides onto this so we can make it the same size as the tops. Let's go sew those on now. Now that I have the sides sewn onto this part of the steeple, I'm going to go ahead and attach the next section. Now this next section is the letter J, and you've attached the letter T squares to the top left and top right corners. Go ahead and stitch those together now, and then we'll finish it off with the remainder for that middle piece, the letter V rectangle. Go ahead and stitch those together now. Now that we have the center of our steeple, we're going to go ahead and attach our large rectangles to the right and left sides. So let's go ahead and finish this top section now. Once the sides are pieced together, we can go ahead and set that top section aside, and let's finish off this bottom section. So the first piece I'm going to do is my letter K, that I have my two triangles done. I've attached my letter W that we drew a line on, and I've attached my letter F. So I'm going to make sure that I have those two triangles already attached to this, and then I'm going to work on the piece that's right next to that. And this is my letter E rectangle, and I've attached my letter W right to the top. We can go ahead and piece these two pieces together now. Now that I have those two pieces sewn together, we can attach them to our church windows and our star block. So let's go ahead and sew those on now. Now that we have those attached, we now have a roof on our building. Let's go ahead and sew our sides together, and then we will attach them right to this center section. So let's go piece our side pieces. Now that we have sewn our sides together, let's go ahead and attach those to our building block. Let's go sew those now. Now that we have the sides piece, we've finished the center section of our pillow accessory. Let's go ahead and attach the top steeple and the bottom snow to finish off this quilt block. Let's go sew. Now that we have our block completely finished, look at how adorable this is. We need to start doing our final steps. So let's go and attach our lightweight interfacing to the back side of this, and then we'll go ahead and trim everything to size. Now that I have the interfacing on the back of my quilt block, it's time to attach our backing. So I'm going to leave this right side up on my table, and I'm going to place my backing right side down on top. Make sure all my sides are nice and even, and I'm simply going to clip everything together to hold it to place. Next, I'm going to stitch around my block, leaving a 3 to 4 inch opening so I can turn everything right side out. Now that I have my backing sewn on, it's time to go ahead and clip my corners and turn my project right side out. Now that my project's turned right side out, it's time to go ahead and even out our sides and to tuck our turn opening under. So let's go press this now. Now that everything is nice and pressed, let's go ahead and step to our machine and we'll top stitch around the entire outside, closing our turn opening in the process. The final step to finishing our pillow accessory is to go ahead and apply our snaps to the corners. So to do that, you want to measure in a 1/2 inch from the sides and the top or the bottom and go ahead and make a dot. Once you have all your snap placements marked, go ahead and make a hole so you can insert your snap. I'm just going to use a seam ripper. You can use a precision ripper or a hole punch. Absolutely anything will work for this. Now that I have all of my holes made, it's time to attach our snaps. I'm going to start with my cap or the piece that has the point on it, and I'm going to place that on the right side of my projects and simply insert it through the hole. Once I have that inserted, you need to double check the placement on your pillow before you attach your snaps, but I'm going to attach the stud snaps on the top of mine. The stud snaps or the boy snaps are the ones that point up. Now simply press it on with your fingers until you hear it click into place. Repeat the same thing with the other top snap. Now to do the socket snaps, you follow the same rule, but the sockets are the ones that go in or the female snap. Go ahead and apply those to the bottoms now. Now that I have all of my snaps installed, my project is finished. Once again, this is the Grace Chapel pillow accessory, part of our Back Home Pillow series. You can find this kit and pattern on our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Please like and subscribe for more tutorials, and thanks for watching.
Okay, you wicked cool quilters, good job. You made it to the end. We would like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, rulers, rotary cutters, and mats. Thanks for watching.